It's funny, though, that the win total is sitting at 8.5, because if they get to 9, they will go up and over. Is the new scenery with his childhood favorite team and a quarterback whisperer coach in Kevin O'Connell enough to get the Minnesota Vikings up and over this 8.5 win total?
I do think he's a clear upgrade over J.J. McCarthy, but his play has kind of slipped the last couple of years. 3 or fewer wins in 3 of his last 4 seasons there. Some of that was because of injury. Is he going to fit into a Kevin O'Connell system? We've seen mostly pocket type of passers in Minnesota, and this is a different type of quarterback who's able to move and escape the pocket. So I have questions about the fit here with Kevin O'Connell.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's very easy for Kyler Murray to fit into places.
Yes.
So
Very
I will. I mean, he's a carry-on, so it's fine for Kyler Murray. It is Joe Dolan, Tom Brolley, Good Friend Trey behind the glass, breaking down 5 interesting win totals from the NFC pre-draft on the betting markets, why you might want to bet them, why you might not, and we're even going to get to Tom Brolley's pre-draft NFC best bet win total. That is going to be a little bit later in the show, but if you were a subscriber at Fantasy Points to our Fantasy Pro or Fantasy Bundle subscriptions, you would have gotten that bet already in our subscriber Discord. Get it before the lines move. And if you use the promo code that's written down there on the YouTube channel, or BETS26 for you podcast listeners, you will get a discount on Fantasy Pro or Fantasy Bundle. Do not miss out. Tom Brolley was up nearly 31 units on his player props last year. It is something you do not want to miss. While that's an in-season betting package and the player props is where the highest amount of volume comes, we do NFL futures as well here, obviously, on the Best Bets program. Let's start counting down 5 of the most interesting NFC win totals pre-2026 NFL draft. And we got to start with what is always a hot button topic, the Dallas Cowboys. 8.5 is the win total for them. I'm looking at DraftKings Sportsbook right now, minus 145 to the over. So the over is juiced, and it's easy to see why. It's a very high scoring team. As of right now, Tom, the offensive depth chart extremely similar to last season. Presuming George Pickens does play on the franchise tag or a long-term extension, that is always going to be the bread and butter of these Dallas Cowboys. The downside, of course, is did they do enough to fix the defense? Jerry Jones said they're going to go all in, spend all this money, and the big addition is Rashawn Gary in the trade market. They go out and get a couple of decent players in Jalen Thompson and Kobe Durant in the secondary. That was a terrible secondary last year, but they certainly need more. If the Cowboys go over, that maybe 1 or 2 of these defensive players is going to take a step forward. But remember, not only did they trade away Micah Parsons last year, they get Quinnen Williams, but Osa Digizua, he gets traded away in free agency. I don't know if I can get there. I would lean to the over here, actually, because of the offensive talent, and that's where the juice is right now. But I don't know if I can get to the window with this, given all the questions the Cowboys have on defense. That could change after the NFL draft. Remember, they have 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, I'm leaning a little negative on this one. I'm liking the under 8.5 right now. You got to pay that little bit of a tax. Anytime you bet on the Cowboys, they're America's team. Everybody loves to pile in and bet the overs on the Dallas Cowboys. So we're seeing this juiced up, at most of the books at 8.5. So I just haven't seen a team that's really improved very much here so far this offseason. They're kind of setting up that they know they got to pay George Pickens. They got to potentially leave some money on the table to get that deal done. So not a whole lot of movement, not a whole lot of improvement from this group. And if we look back over the last 2 years, this is a team that's won 7 games in back-to-back seasons, finished under their win total. They did have a nice little streak a couple of years ago under Mike McCarthy, but this is a team that's been going under and hasn't been able to crest that 7-win threshold here recently. So they got a nice schedule. It's not too terrible. They got to play Tampa Bay, Green Bay, and Baltimore as their extra games. Not exactly easy, despite not finishing. The Eagles finished ahead of them in the NFC East standings. So schedule's going to be tough. And I could see some movement from, Washington's coming off a down season. New York Giants, there's some expectations in that division. So I think the bottom of the division could be a little bit tougher this year. So I'm leaning a little negative on this one. I'm going under on the Dallas Cowboys.
Another NFC team with a lot of history, but no Super Bowl titles in the 21st century, is the number 4 most interesting pre-draft win total in the NFC. And that is the San Francisco 49ers, Tom. And now I'm seeing a split line out there. I'm seeing 9.5 minus 150. There's also some 10.5s out there for the 49ers. Looking at DraftKings Sportsbook, that is now at a 10.5, but plus 115 to the over, minus 140 to the under. This was a team that went well over its win total last year. But of course, Tom, they were blessed with perhaps the easiest schedule in the NFL this side of the New England Patriots. So can the 49ers get a little bit healthier this season? We still don't know what's going on with Jawan Jennings, but Brock Purdy missed some time. Obviously, Ricky Pearsall's been unable to stay on the field in his career. They bring in Mike Evans at wide receiver, but Mike Evans has dealt with hamstring injuries in the recent past. And, of course, they have the substation out there in the Bay Area, apparently affecting everybody's injuries. The Trent Williams situation is up in the air. So there are a lot of questions right now with the 49ers that might make you hesitant to actually place a bet. Again, I'm talking about a split line. 9.5 at some books, 10.5 at others. If you want the over 9.5, you got to pay the juice. If you want under 10.5 at whatever your preferred book is, you got to pay the juice. But if you'd like them to go over the number, 10.5, you can get plus odds at your book right now.
Yeah, I like this over at FanDuel. 9.5, we can get that better line. Makes it a little bit easier. I'd always recommend that. Look out for the best line. And this 49ers team, as you said, Joe, they benefited from a pretty friendly schedule last year, but they still finished 3rd in the division. So their unique games this upcoming season look pretty good here for a team that won a whole bunch of games last season. They get matchups against Minnesota, Atlanta, and Miami. So 3 very winnable games. Of course, you do have to navigate that NFC West against Seattle and the Los Angeles Rams, the 2 best teams in football right now. So not easy getting through the NFC West, but you do get the Cardinals there as well. So matchups against the AFC West, NFC East, not easy, but we kind of saw from the 49ers this offseason. They go out and get Mike Evans. That's kind of a signal to me that they're trying to win this season. They're going for it all. They've been kind of on the doorstep a little bit in recent seasons. I've gotten to 12 wins in 3 out of the last 4 years. Had that down season in 2024, but this has been otherwise a team that's been right on the doorstep of some big time playoff, and everything's kind of set up for them to make a run this year. So tough division, but the schedule is pretty good for them to make a run, and I kind of like this one over 9.5 if you can get that number.
With the number 3 most interesting NFC win total, I'm talking, of course, about the Chicago Bears, one of the surprise teams of the NFC last year. Their line is sitting at 9.5 plus odds on DraftKings Sportsbook to the over, under 9.5 minus 120. Now, this is a team that had a lot go right for it last year, but also Caleb Williams showed some inconsistencies. For every big-time throw he made a bonehead one. And here comes the question, right? Can Caleb harness that greatness? Can he harness the positive aspects of his wild stallion play the way that Josh Allen has done, right? You remember Josh Allen in his first 2 years in the league. The flashes were brilliant, but the downsides, you could have made a blooper reel out of the downsides. And it's kind of the same way with Caleb Williams here, Tom, but Ben Johnson, the head coach of the Chicago Bears, managed to get positive play out of him. They have traded away DJ Moore. They obviously lost their center, Drew Dahlman. So there is a lot that has to go on here for things to get back into consistency for the Chicago Bears. But can they do it? 9.5 is the win total, Tom. I think you like the under here, but you were not able to get there and get to the window with this bet, probably because of you see some of the upside that these Bears have.
Yeah, we saw it last year, pulling out a number of close games, and obviously Caleb Williams is stepping into his third year, and he made such progress in his second season. Clearly one of the most talented players in the NFL, so not exactly a player that I want to step in front of, with the offensive coach that I think is one of the best in the league. So I didn't quite get to this one, but I got to look a little negative on this one. Under 9.5. This team was just running pure all season long. 7-4 in one-score games. Honestly, when I was going through the numbers, I thought it was going to be even better than that. They did lose a couple of other one-score games, but man, they kept pulling out game after game that was seemingly tight. We saw it again in the postseason as well against the Packers. A couple of games down the stretch helped them to win the NFC North. But they're going to come back to earth here. It's going to regress a little bit. We also got to look, Joe, at they ranked first in giveaways. Only turned it over 11 times last season. On the defensive side of the ball, I don't think they were very good, but they forced a lot of turnovers, ranking first in takeaways. So 20 plus 22 in turnover differential. That's going to come back closer to even. That is a huge difference whenever you look at this team. So they'd be lucky if it's at plus 10 this upcoming season. So just that alone, I think, could flip some of these closer games that they were able to pull out last season. So I'm leaning towards the under here. The team was very fortunate to win the NFC North and get to 11 wins last season. But that's still a very difficult division to navigate. So I'm looking at the under 9.5 wins here.
Our number 2 most interesting NFC potential win total bet pre-draft in 2026 is a team that is never boring. They have brought in Kyler Murray to compete for the starting job. And Tom, I think most everybody expects it would be a massive upset if Kyler Murray does not win the starting job in Minnesota over 9. It's funny, though, that the win total is sitting at 8.5, because if they get to 9, they will go over the win total of minus 105, minus 115 to the under at DraftKings Sportsbook. Look, this is a talented Minnesota football team. There's no doubt about that. And it's just a team that, for the first time in Justin Jefferson's career, was unable to get elite production out of him. That is just how bad 9 and Max Brosmer were. Carson Wentz was the best option here for this team. And obviously he was playing through a torn shoulder. I think if Kyler Murray wins this job, Kyler Murray should be able to get production to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I don't think that's the question. The question is, can Kyler Murray take his game to another level and turn Minnesota into a winner? He was unable to do that with Arizona. Is the new scenery with his childhood favorite team and a quarterback whisperer coach in Kevin O'Connell enough to get the Minnesota Vikings up and over this 8.5 win total? Kyler Murray is quarterback.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's not. I'm a little skeptical about Kyler Murray's impact here. I do think he's a clear upgrade over J.J. McCarthy, but his play has kind of slipped the last couple of years. And if we look at what he did in Arizona, 3 or fewer wins in 3 of his last 4 seasons there. Some of that was because of injury. A lot of it was because of ineffective play. And we saw this past year that they told him to take his ball and go home. In the second half of the season. We're rolling with Jacoby Brissett, a career backup quarterback. So I think that tells you a lot about what Arizona thought about Kyler Murray at the end of his run there. I do think he'll be better than McCarthy, but I don't know if it's going to be as dramatic as people are hoping here. It's worth the risk for the Vikings, obviously. They're not paying him a whole lot of money to come in and play quarterback for them, and if they can maybe turn him around. We've seen Kevin O'Connell do it with some of the past quarterbacks, including Sam Darnold, who went on to win a Super Bowl in Seattle. So I like the small risk that they're taking right now by bringing in Kyler Murray, but I just don't think this is going to be a dramatically better team with Kyler Murray at quarterback. I have questions too, Joe. Is he going to fit into a Kevin O'Connell system? we've seen mostly pocket type of passers in Minnesota, and this is a different type of quarterback who's able to move and escape the pocket. So I have questions about the fit here with Kevin O'Connell.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's very easy for Kyler Murray to fit into places.
Yes,
so
very tiny.
I will. I mean, he's a carry-on, so it's fine for Kyler Murray. But we'll see. I mean, I think this is an interesting move. I think Minnesota, the reports have been coming out that, like, yeah, Minnesota was clearly considering Band-Aids at the quarterback position, but Kevin O'Connell, some of the talk with Kyler Murray was he could be surgery. He could be reconstructive surgery. He is the guy they felt had the long-term upside, but he just has never been a quote-unquote winner to that extent in the NFL. Has never won a playoff game. I think he's only gotten them to the playoffs once or twice, but nonetheless, Minnesota is a place where Sam Darnold resurrected his career, and now he's a Super Bowl champion. So we'll see if Kyler Murray is enough to get there. You were not comfortable betting that under, Tom. You see just enough upside there for Minnesota. But there is a bet you have made. If you're in our subscriber Discord at Fantasy Points, you already know.
Yep.
Because Tom gave it out. He gave this out on March 13th. It's St. Patrick's Day today. So there was 4 whole days for this line to move. And Tom, you see absolute blow-up potential in a bad way for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously did not make the playoffs last year with an out-and-out choke job. Mike Evans sees the writing on the wall.
Yep.
He leaves in free agency. He didn't want to, he said, but he decided to get away from Tampa. And Tom, I think it was pretty obvious. At the end of that Week 18 game against the Falcons, they gave up a long 3rd down to Kirky Cousins and company, and he's sick of it. He's going into the locker room, 3rd and 28, 3rd and 28, 3rd and 28, and he was not happy. That is the last image we have of Mike Evans in a Buccaneers uniform. Tom, it is minus 105 to the under 8.5 at DraftKings. The over it has longer odds, so minus 105 for this. You think there's a blow-up potential here? I think that's particularly interesting. It is your pre-NFL draft best bet, under 8.5 wins for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And the books are a little split, as you said. If you shop around here, this line is wildly different, but I think this is a team that's been moving in the wrong direction ever since Todd Bowles took over for Bruce Arians. Obviously, Bruce Arians won the Super Bowl, and Tom Brady was a quarterback, and everything was kind of optimal. But this is a franchise that's moving in the wrong direction, and Mike Evans says, "Get me off of this ship. I want to go somewhere else where I have a realistic chance of competing for a postseason berth and going for a Super Bowl." So we've seen the last 2 years, Joe, whenever Mike Evans was out of the lineup, their record is dramatically different. 14-7 whenever Mike Evans was in the lineup and played a full game over the last 2 seasons. 4-10 when Evans was out of the lineup or left relative early, like we saw when he broke his collarbone against the Lions earlier last season. So dramatically different team. Baker Mayfield, dramatically different player as well. He averages 6.6 yards per attempt without Mike Evans and 7.9 yards per attempt with Mike Evans. So I think this offense is going to take a significant step back. The defense has not been the strength that we've seen the last couple of years. Todd Bowles, that's kind of his MO, defense. And the secondary got extremely weak last year, and they just lost maybe one of their best players in that secondary with Jamel Dean leaving for Pittsburgh in free agency. So this is a defense that's moving in the wrong direction. Everything is kind of telling me that the Buccaneers are going to be a disappointment. They do get the benefit a little bit, Joe, from playing a second-place schedule. Yeah, that's usually something that we like, but second-place schedule in the NFC gets you the Rams, Chargers, and Cowboys. Not exactly an easy slate of games for those unique contests. So I think this is going to be a competitive NFC South. I think if you look at that bottom of the division, Atlanta and New Orleans, all right there. I think they've improved. And Carolina, they won the division last year, but they've made some strides on defense as well. So I think this is going to be a really tight division. Maybe it's another 8 or 9 win team coming out of the NFC South, but I don't think it's going to be the Buccaneers this season.
Yeah, so the Buccaneers under 8.5 is Tom Brolley's best bet pre-draft for the NFL draft. Man, maybe the Carolina Panthers, who spent big in free agency, improve in the NFL draft, or the Atlanta Falcons do something intelligent for the first time in 37 years. Or, maybe the New Orleans Saints, you're high on them with Tyler Shuck at quarterback. There are so many things that could go wrong for the Buccaneers. There are some things that can go right. So if you want to wait until after the NFL draft to bet, that's your prerogative. We'll run down all the NFC win totals after the draft as well, but you can get in early if you see it the same way Tom Brolley, and quite frankly, see it the same way Mike Evans does. Use that promo code that's on the YouTube channel right down below us, or if you're listening to the program, you can also use code BETS26. Remember, by April 1st, you've got to subscribe. Then you will get in-season betting. If you subscribe to a Fantasy Pro or Fantasy Bundle subscription, get that discount. This has been a phenomenal, fun edition of the Fantasy Points Best Bet Show and the Fantasy Points Betting YouTube channel. We are going to be back later this week to break down the top 5 AFC best bets you might want to make before the draft, including Tom's best bet. It was a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you later this week.